It's the radio guy, Mike Prince. Welcome to another episode of the Mike Prince Show. Of course, we focus on local and regional athletics. Today will be no exception to the rule. We have on the line with us head football coach, athletic director, and a guy who did not think he would be in the situation that he's in right now, and that is none other than Gene Johnson of the Waller Bulldogs. How you doing today, sir?
Doing great.
All right. Well, as we mentioned, who would have thought when you said yes to Waller that you'd be facing what you're facing right now? How have you been dealing with it?
Well, it's been a long process for sure. I think back to 3 years ago when we were actually going to school with kids, and I say that jokingly. It seems like forever since that spring break. Just this thing has been so drawn out and long. It feels like it's 3 years since we were back in school with some normalcy. So, we were able to start some camps this week and being around the kids. And I don't know, it was kind of a race between who was most comfortable or most excited, and not comfortable, but most excited to see each other and be around each other between the coaches and the kids. I enjoyed, of course, there are so many stipulations that the UL has on the camps, and so we're trying to observe those. But, man, it was refreshing just to be able to socialize with the players, and the players socialize with each other a little bit. It was a neat deal, but it's certainly different. And for us on a level in terms of coming in as a new staff, we came in, or I guess I came in March of last year, March or April. And so I had just an abbreviated period of time with the kids before the season started, and then hired as many as 9 new football coaches to work with the kids and brought those guys in. And so then we got started with off season, and then this rolls along for spring break and kind of shuts us down, with trying to build some chemistry with the team and the kids and building that trust level that I think you need for kids to know that you care about them and build the relationships. And so it's been frustrating, I guess. That's a long-winded answer, I guess, just to say it's kind of frustrating in trying to build a program to have this kind of put an interruption in it all.
Well, it creates all kind of challenges just with regular conditions, and then when you add the pandemic on, it just multiplies and magnifies the entire situation. Right on the brinks of about to break out with your 7-on-7s during the spring break time, then you have to set back. And my question, I guess, out of the gate, you just completed some camps this past week. How long did it really take for people to realize the comfort and, I guess, the ease of mind to go and let loose with the drills? How long did it really take to transition through that?
I was just so pleased with how that transition process happened, and I think some of that was that we met as a district in the athletic department and put together some guidelines and some things to try to do. We made sure that masks were available to kids and made a comfort zone, I think, with the kids and the parents of saying, look, we're going to do while we can't, stop all risk associated with it, we're going to do our best to minimize it as much as possible. And so, and we certainly kept an open mind that if you're not comfortable training, then don't come. We did not want to put anybody in a position where they weren't comfortable. And I was really surprised at very, very few kids that weren't, that didn't feel comfortable in coming back. I think they were all really excited to present some level of normalcy back to their life. And I think the other thing that was a huge factor for me, our strength coach, Lou Altamar, just did a tremendous job of saying, look, these kids have been doing nothing from an athletic standpoint since March. We need to be very careful with how we phase back in their workouts. And what he's done in the first week is, laying a foundation of a 30-minute base, and we'll progress and add time as we start to condition the athletes. And so I think that helped with the athletes, knowing that they're kind of phasing it back in and not just throwing it all back at them at once.
Right. We're speaking right now with Gene Johnson, athletic director, head football coach of the Waller Bulldogs. And with the easing back into this thing, and the still up in the air. Will there won't or will there not be a 2020 fall campaign? And we're not just talking about football, but all the other sports that line up with it. UIL just released this past week that they're going to allow live streaming on Friday nights just for this year because of the COVID concerns. Do you think that is somewhat of a tantalizing bone to keep people interested in focus on sports this fall?
I don't know. That's hard to measure. Obviously, without sitting in on some of those athletic directors meetings, regional AD meetings, and so forth, where they have some of those discussions. I guess the best viewpoint I have is I just assume that it is one of many different directions that we're laying a foundation of planning for, so that perhaps we head down a road where we're able to return to play and just get after it. And then there's another road that we head down where maybe we can return to play, but we don't have fans in the stands. And so then we need to explore all those options of broadcasting. I mean, there's even been some suggestion I've seen by coaches that, baseball and softball are much less contact related sports. Maybe we need to flip and do the spring sports in the fall and the fall sports in the spring. So, I don't know if that's, sometimes UIL, sends stuff out and it's almost like they're kind of making a precursor. So maybe that is a precursor. I don't know. I think the thing that I struggle with, Mr. Prince, is just knowing, we're all working hard trying to keep the social distancing. So what is going to be the impetus, or what's going to get us off the button that allows us then to say, okay, we can move from this 6-foot distance now to, you can have these guys tackling each other and hitting each other and breathing on each other. And I'm not sure I see what's going to be the trigger that says, okay, it's good for us to do that now.
Well, you and I kind of joked about it the other day. This would seem like this would be a good time to implement flag football.
Right. Right.
Because of there's still some contact in flag football, but it's less contact. But it's all up in the air right now. Now, enough of the, I guess we would say, the bad news or the heavy news.
Sure.
How do you use this time to your advantage? Coming into a program that's had some challenges, you're able to assess, see what you need to do. Now you cannot go out here and start working toward digging out of that hole, if you allow me to put it in that manner. How do you use this time to your advantage?
Well, I think it's a lot easier for us as adults, obviously, to try to get together as coaches on whether it be Zoom meetings and just kind of talking philosophies and talking plays and watching online videos, clinics, and learning and growing individually. And we tried throughout spring training to do some of that with our players as well. But I think the focus is on the personal growth. We kind of talked to our players when we had opportunities to say, look, here's the thing. We have to anticipate that we're coming out on the other side of this playing football. We need to be more prepared when we come out on the other side of COVID to be ready to play than we are right now. And so our focus was just quite simply on growing personally and individually, knowing that when we put it together and the pieces are stronger, then you have a chance to put together a better team.
Okay. And how much of that becoming a better team would you say is going to heavily rely on the mental approach to the game?
Oh, that's what scares me, to be honest with you, Mr. Prince, is that so much of what coaches at any program do in an off-season program is, I like to think of what I'm telling our kids is that, I want to put them in really tough situations that almost like they're like, man, forget this. I'm going to walk away from this, or I'm going to quit. But then give them the tools to get through that situation. And then they can look back and they can realize, you know what? That gives me some confidence because I was able mentally to make it through that tough situation or that tough environment. And that is, I don't think there's any better confidence builder than to help push a kid through a spot where he didn't think he could get through. And so when you talk about the mental aspect of preparing a team and getting a team ready, when this off season shut down March 13th or whatever it was, that's a concern. That's a concern. And but that's why too, though, trying to recapture some of that in the summer training is something that we got to try to get out there and do. But it's not the entrance into year two that you wanted. You wanted to be able to work with those guys throughout a full off season and try to get that mental toughness where we want it.
Absolutely. Now, with all of this, I'm saying extra time, but we know there's no such thing as extra time. But with this, with this allotted gap that you've had between seasons, has it at any point made you go back and possibly reevaluate the scheme that you want to use at Waller?
I don't think any more so than what we were already doing. I think whether we had been on campus with the kids and going through spring training, we still would have gone back through that evaluation process. And I always believe that there's a variation within your scheme that matches your talent without reinventing your scheme from year to year. So that's a process that I would expect to have been in place had we been in school, just as much as it has been with us not having been in school.
Okay, we're speaking again with Gene Johnson, football coach for the Waller Bulldogs. And just moments ago, Coach, you talked about getting you guys ready to deal with tough situations. UIL just sent out the realignments, not just sent out, but during the time that the breakout of the pandemic and everything. Tough district realignment, my man. District 8 is going to be something to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great district, and I think probably though one of the things that throughout my career that I felt like helped me as a coach or that I learned a lot from was our first year to make the playoffs at Ranch. We played that Big Red team over on the west side of town there, Katy in the
Big Red
third or fourth round, I think we played them and we got it handed to us really, really, really good. And so we kind of went back as a staff, and I talked to our staff, and I said, what, this is the best thing in the world that could happen to us. To see a level of play gives you an indication now of what do we have to do with our program to be able to be competitive on that level. And so that's how I look at our district. College Station wins a lot of playoff games every year. Lufkin has kind of been knocked out early the last couple of years, but traditionally they win a lot of playoff games year in and year out. And then what the Magnolia schools are and the New Caney schools were both great playoff teams. So, if you look at it it just kind of depends on which set of lenses you look at it. And I think you have to look at it and think, what? You find a way to get in the playoffs, working your way through this district, and you ought to be prepared for playoff games because in a lot of ways you're playing a playoff quality opponent, week in and week out in the district. So it's a great district, but we want to focus on looking at it as a challenge and the opportunities that it presents.
Absolutely, and it builds again on that mental approach to the game because a lot of people have the physical talent. It's the mental toughness to get through whatever the obstacles are, and to realize that the higher you go, the stiffer the competition becomes. And I tell kids all the time, it's okay to be the big fish in the pond. Is when your pond transfer, can you still swim with the other school of fish?
Absolutely. No doubt. Absolutely.
So
that's a great analogy.
With that being said, Coach, I know that people are sitting on pins and needles, trying to see what is and what's not. You got a moment now to address Bulldog Nation, high school fans. What is your message to those that are listening right now?
Well, I think the first thing is to listen to somebody that's a whole lot smarter than me, in terms of seeking advice, but just the things that I want to see us do. And I think, we get really enthralled with our high school football in the state of Texas, and we get excited about wins and big games and playoff games. But at the core of all of this, at the core of our mission is kids. And so I think as we continue to progress through this, I think we have to take and use an educated approach to things, meaning that there are no definitive answers, of what next week, next month, and next semester is going to look like. We have to be flexible as we work through the process, understanding that there is going to be some changes and adaptations that we're going to have to make, as the circumstances change, and then just make a daily effort to make decisions that are in the best interest of our kiddos. And I don't know that means putting them in a bubble, and protecting them from this virus. I think we have to look out for their mental health just as much as we do their physical health. And we've put a lot on these kids by taking their routines out and taking them out of that school building and allowing them to be around their peers and the growth and development that comes from the influence of teachers and coaches. And so I don't know what that perfect balance is, but I think that we've got to work diligently to make the decisions that are best for our kids. And if we do that, it's going to be hard to look back and say that we didn't do the right thing or do what was right.
Oh, no doubt at all. I believe that all the steps and precautions that have been taken have been in the best interest for all students and all staff as well. And my final question for today, Coach, is we know the impact that this pandemic has caused across the world of athletics. Do you ever see this thing returning to quote unquote normal as we once upon a time knew it? And if not, what do you see the greatest impact that we can learn from this?
Well, I do. I think there will be some normalcy that returns to this, and I think that returns when we look at testing and vaccines. But I don't know. That's the thing that concerns me about this fall is just not knowing where we will be in terms of being able to test kids before we expose them to each other, and then being able to provide vaccines for them. That's the thing that I struggle with about how can we get prepared to be able to make this thing turn around and come back. But I think once those things are in place, I do think that we will go back to, if you will, the way things were, the good old days, I guess, if you will. But the lessons learned, I think this is just a great life opportunity for us to learn a life lesson, and that is to, appreciate every day and don't take for granted the things that we have and in our life. And in a lot of ways, this was a way to remind ourselves of family and how important family can be and how much we can, mean to each other as a family unit. And so, it's kind of a lot like you try to learn in athletics, take positive spins from things. And so for me, lessons looking back from COVID are don't take anything for granted. Cherish every day and every opportunity we have, and to enjoy the relationships that we get an opportunity with, even outside of our family unit. I know as coaches we have enjoyed seeing each other in person and missed each other and being around each other, and so maybe a lesson there is, look, don't take for granted the family unit, and don't take for granted the work unit that you have an opportunity to be around day to day.
Bottom line, in spite of it all, you're all truly extremely blessed. We need to take time to acknowledge that, even in the midst of what we are calling challenging right now. Just think, Coach, 5 years from now, we'll be laughing at this situation, talking about some of the things that we discovered about ourselves and a whole lot more. I want to thank you so much for making yourself available. I know it's a crazy time of year. It's uncharted waters for all of us, but you've been a trooper throughout everything, and we thank you for the direction that Bulldog Nation is headed, not only just in football, but in athletics as a whole. You have great vision and great support staff, and we expect nothing but great things to come in the very near future, Coach.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on here and talk about our program a little bit. I love our kids and our community, and so it's great to be able to reach out to them and just kind of touch back base. We feel disconnected in so many ways, so I appreciate what you're doing and giving us the opportunity to talk about the Bulldogs a little bit.
Absolutely. He is Coach Gene Johnson of the Waller Bulldogs. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. I want to thank you guys so much for always joining in with us. Of course, our social media handles for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter are at The Mike Prince Show. The YouTube channel is Open Mic Broadcast Network. And don't forget our 24-hour dial-in message line, 713-570-6736. I've got to exit stage left. My time is far spent for right now. But until the next time, you guys be blessed. We'll see you on the other side.